Hello, everyone. Am I audible to everyone? Yes or no? Great. I welcome you all guys to this session on building how to build Twitter streaming API. Mr. Arun Kudial is going to take this session. Just an introduction to Mr. Arun Kudial. He works as a senior software developer with ZeoMinds, and he also works as a subject matter expert with Apple. Right. So over to you, Mr. Kudial. So I'll be giving you the access now. Just a second. Yeah, I think we can start the session now. Yeah.
All right, great. Good morning, people. I hope you can hear me up. Hi, good morning. Morning. All right, great. Such a lovely crowd. All right. Welcome to Innomatics. Welcome to ZeoMinds. And today, most probably, we are going to go around and build a lot of different things. All right. So let me go around and share out the screen real quick. All right, sorry for that. All right, so I hope the screen is visible to everyone. Yeah. Is the screen visible? Okay, great. All right. All right, welcome to Innomatics, right? And welcome to the session. I will be your speaker for the day. I am Arun Kudial. I work as a senior software developer with ZeoMinds, and I'm also a subject matter expert at Apple, right? So this session is purely, it's going to be, we'll be focused on a very specific agenda. We'll be talking about how we are going to go around and stream Twitter APIs, right? Just to be on a very clear note and try and understand what the impact of you people for this session is going to be. How many of you are very new to programming, or they are very new to full stack development, or maybe building APIs and stuff like that? New to APIs? How many of you are very new to APIs? Just give me a yes in the chat section so that I could know where to start from. And most probably we are going to go around and do everything from scratch, right? All right, great. So if you're new to APIs, we will talk about very basic things from the start. All right. Okay, then. Okay, just to have a very clear understanding, how many of you actually know a little bit about APIs, or you might have integrated APIs like before? Yeah, the session is recorded. Most probably you'll get the recordings. I'm not pretty sure about that, but yeah, most probably you'll be able to. So how many of you are very, you might have worked on APIs or maybe integrated few APIs like before? Anyone? API with Node and MongoDB makes sense. API is application programmable interfaces. So we're gonna, REST APIs, or maybe SOAP APIs, or maybe anything for that matter. Maybe you would be know. Okay, so a lot of people I think are very new to APIs, right? All right, great, makes a lot of sense. Okay, great, got it. Okay, all right. So what we are going to do, first of all, let me set out with the agenda. The agenda is very, very clear. We are going to have a look on Twitter streaming API. We will be talking about what Twitter is, right? A lot of people would be knowing or having an idea about Twitter, but just from a very front-end perspective, they might be using Twitter, maybe doing a lot of things and stuff like that. But the point here is that we'll be talking about how Twitter works at the backend and what happens when you do something, when you tweet something. And then what we're going to do, we are going to fetch these tweets on real time, and we are going to see all of these tweets depending upon whatever we want from Twitter, right? Let me tell you very straight, whatever we'd be doing is going to be completely based on JavaScript and Node, right? So I'll be, having my full attention towards, like, for the people who are very, okay, how many of you are very new to JavaScript, by the way? This session is going to be for 2 hours, by the way. Yeah. How many of you have no idea about JavaScript? I'm just purely talking about JavaScript. Okay. All right. So this session is going to make a lot of sense to the people who have worked on JavaScript for a little bit, right? I'll try my best to actually give you a little knowledge about here and there about JavaScript, right? There are going to be few things that might confuse you people a little bit, because the code that we're going to do is going to be very robust and very advanced, right? So I'll just give you a handsome of an idea, and you'll understand over the period of time when I'll be writing code. You'll see that how I'm writing code and what the syntax is going to look like and what a particular thing is going to do, right? So just bear with me, just stay attentive throughout the session, and you'll get a lot of idea about Node.js or maybe JavaScript for that matter, and how to integrate APIs, right? All right, so let me give you a few things before we actually go around and start with the session. Let's talk about the technologies that we're going to use for building the API or integrating the API. We are going to talk about few things. For example, we would be talking about something called as Node.js, right? And then we are going to talk about few little libraries, for example, Needle, right? We will be working on SocketIO, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of people might not have heard about all of these terms, but bear with me, we're going to do a lot of things. Alongside with that, we are also going to take Express in picture, right? And what else would be needing? I think we will be pretty much good with this part, right? So these will be the technologies we'll be focusing on. We're going to talk about the specifications of these technologies. We're going to see that how these technologies are going to help you build, or integrate an API, right? Now, before that, we actually go around and start with the session. No, not as of now. Yeah, we're going to use VS Code. But before we actually go around and talk about, what we're going to do in the session or what the session is going to be, I'll be telling you everything, Adi. Just give me 1 second, right? We're going to talk from very, very scratch. So don't worry about that. All right. So this is Innomatics, right? And we are coming up. We are growing in technologies, right? We have catered out a lot of people out there, right? And we have placed a lot of people. And what happens here is that we cater on to various technologies like data science, machine learning, full stack development, and a lot of different things. Alongside with that, we'll be having a lot of quizzes, hackathons, and workshops like this. So I'll highly will recommend you go around and follow us on LinkedIn, because that's going to be very helpful for you for near futures. You'll get a lot of notifications for the same. Right. So if there is going to be any hackathons or quizzes, and for all of these hackathons and quizzes, we actually have cash prizes for the same, right? Oh, great. And you can have my colleague has basically shared out with the link. You can just click on the link and you can land onto the page. It's fine. Even if you're from mechanical background, if you have a zeal to learn, pretty much this session is going to make sense for you people, right? So you can just follow us up on LinkedIn. You're going to see a lot of posts related to, maybe courses or maybe, hackathons, quizzes. We're going to, we do a lot of workshops and stuff like that. Right. So highly recommended. I'll say that you have a look on your audio settings. If you're not able to hear me out, so I'll just say that, you check your audio settings. Location of Innomatics. So it's a Hyderabad based company, right? So it's based in Hyderabad. You can get all the information out here. You can just come out here at the about page, at the about section, and you're gonna see all the overviews and stuff like that, right? You'll get the exact location for the same, right? Yeah, I'm hoping for the same. We're gonna do a lot of things. We're gonna have a lot of fun, right? Are we going to get a survey? No, it's a workshop, so most probably no, right? Yeah. Great, that you can have that, but just be updated with us on LinkedIn, because we post a lot of stuff out there and we'll get a lot of information out there as well, right? Chalo, great. So are we good? Shall we go around and start? Yeah, there are opportunities for freshers as well. So yeah, definitely. So if you're ready, if you're good, if you're on the same page, you can just give me a yes in the chat section, and most probably we are going to start on with the session. Shall we? Chalo, great. All right, so in my head, I'm presuming you people are very new to APIs. So let me go around and give you a very handsome of an idea that what API is going to be and what API does and what Twitter API is going to do for you. Yes. So yeah, we'll have to install Express and do a lot of stuff. I'm in 12th grade. Should I learn this? Completely up to you. I cannot say about that, right? So if you have zeal, please do that. All right, so let's talk about few. Okay, one thing more. If you feel stuck anywhere, please, I'll highly will recommend you put your doubt in the chat section, because most probably I'm going to have a look on the chat section at very frequent basis. Is the session based on Java? No, this session is going to be based on JavaScript and Node. Yeah, it's going to be based on JavaScript and Node. All right, so all right, so let's start to talk about what API is, because a lot of people here in the session have literally no idea what an API is and what an API does for you people. Right, so let's talk about that. Let's take a very simple scenario. Okay, let's think about a very simple scenario. Let's say, now try and understand the situation. All right, then I'll give you what these things are going to do for you people. Right, now let's take a scenario. Let's say you come up with a startup. Right, which language? We'll talk about all of these things. Should we focus on the project part? We're going to cater on to all of these questions at the end of the session, so don't worry about that. So if you'll be having any questions, let's keep it for the end of the session, because that's going to hamper what we are going to deal about in the session, right? That's building the application stuff. So shall we start then? Shall we start? Right, so I'm about to ask you a question, and just try and understand this question and just try to answer it in a in a sensible manner. Right, now let's try and understand. You come up with a startup, let's say. All right, you have a startup, and in that startup, what you're thinking is to design a food delivery system, let's say. All right, so it's going to be kind of like a Zomato, let's say. All right, we'll just keep taking an example. Now if you're a startup, right, if you are a startup, what do you think that you would be requiring the most if you want to go into food delivery services? What do you think? Just think about it. Take a little second, think about it. And good, a very good answer that I'm looking for. App development is not a big thing. You can go around and hire any coder and he'll just do this stuff for you, right? The main problem here is going to be the database. How many of you agree with this? The database is going to be a lot of problem. For example, you won't be having the data for what restaurants do we have nearby for a location, or what cuisines that a particular a restaurant caters out for you, right? The front end part is not a problem. We can go around and design a front end. The problem is going to be, how are we going to cater the customers? That means that if a customer is based on a particular location, how am I going to go around and search for different restaurants or different cuisines for that matter? I hope this is making sense what I'm trying to explain. Make sense? Yeah, so the main problem here, if you're creating an application from the very scratch, is going to be the problem wherein we will be dealing out with the database, right? So we do not have a lot of data for the same. This is where API comes into picture, right? API basically short for application programming interface, right? And this programming interface that you talk about is a way how a company basically shares out or floats out their database to different third-party developers or different companies for that matter. Even if you look, when I'll give you a little overview of Twitter API, you'll realize that even Twitter API gives free data, and then there is something that you can get the data even for money as well, right? So this is beneficial from both the parties. Even if you talk about the company's perspective, you'll see that even if somebody is exposing out their APIs, they're earning money out of it, right? So what's the big deal about it, right? So if you have a huge database, the company is earning money. Same is the case with the third-party developers who's trying to come up with a venture, or maybe a startup or something like that, or they want to create their own applications. In that particular case, it's going to help the other person as well, because he's getting the data, right? Even if he's paying money, he's not going to regret about it, because he has data, and because of that data, he's selling his own application. So I hope this is making sense to you people. Does this make sense? Yeah. So an API is a way how a company exposes out their databases or few of the data that they want to give it to third-party developers or to third-party vendors if somebody is in need of the data, right? I'm just going to show you a very simple example for that, right? We have a very beautiful API, and this beautiful API is of GitHub. I'm just going to tell you. So this is called as api.github.com, let's say /users. All right. Now just have a look on this data set, right? Now this data set, if you'll have a look out here, I'm just going to tell you what this data set is and why does it looks like this or stuff like that. But as of for now, just have a look on this data for a little second. All right. Now, if you have a look on this data, you'll realize that this data is completely text. There is nothing hard and fast about this. This is just normal text data, right? Do you agree with me? This is just normal text. Why would somebody pay for all of these normal text? Don't you agree? Right? It's just normal text. right? If a very normal person is going to have a look on this API, is just going to say, hey, or all right, this is just a normal text. Why am I going to pay for this? This data is basically it's basically JSON. It's not something like that. It's JSON. Yeah. So if you'll have a look on this data, I'm going to tell you what JSON is, or array of objects. All of these people who are commenting in the chat section, don't worry about them. I'm going to tell you what this is. But if you'll have a look on this data is actually very helpful. So if let's say I want to get somebody's picture or maybe somebody's profile picture, the only thing that I need to do is just grab this up and open it up on the new tab and realize, oh, this is a data, right? This is a data. If you'll realize, you'll figure out that, yeah, this data actually makes a lot of sense. Same is the case out here. This has a username. So you can actually create a clone of GitHub wherein you just give the login username and you go around and search the particular user and maybe give his profile picture back. I hope this API is making sense to you people now, that what this API is and how this API is going to help third-party developers to actually go around and create a full-fledged, full-stack application on the same. I hope this makes sense. Yeah. Does this make sense? Now, how the structuring of the API is going to be, or what these APIs is, or how we're going to make use of these APIs, that's a complete different story. But the problem here is that this is an API, and we actually need to understand how the structure of this API is going to be, right? Yeah, we can do that, Steve. All right, we can do that, right? And same is the case out here. If you'll see that you can get the followers of one particular user, or you can see the following of that particular user, different subscriptions, or what organization that he works in, what are the different event URLs, what kind of a user is this, and a lot of stuff. So this is actually free data. If you'll see, this is actually free data. And now just think about the kind of like a data that you'll get if you'll pay these companies to get the data. So are we clear with what API is and how API helps a person to actually fetch data? Are we good with this part? So let's quickly move ahead if you're good with this. Shall we? All right, great. Now let's talk about the structuring of the API for a little second, right? So if you'll see out here, there are a few, what about the privacy breach? We'll come to that. There is something called as web tokens, like OAuth or Auth0 or bearer token or stuff like that. We're going to talk about that. We'll come to that. So you can actually secure your APIs for that matter, right? But let's not divert our focus as of now. Now, so let's go around and talk about how the structuring of the API is going to be. So if you'll actually will go around and look, if you might have a little bit of an idea about programming, you'll realize what I'm trying to explain you. This is basically an array, right? You could see out here, this is a square bracket. So if you're from programming background, you'll realize, oh, it's an array, right? And inside this array, what do we have? We have an objects out here. So whatever that is denoted inside curly brackets, it's an object, and whatever is denoted inside these square brackets is basically a part of an array. So I can just come out here and I can say that, hey, this is an array of objects. That means that if I actually try to understand the structure of the API, or generally this happens, so the general notation that I'm going to find, it's going to be an array, and inside this array there are going to be a lot of objects there, right? There are going to be a lot of objects out here. And these objects are going to be a part of an array. So you can just come out here, if let's suppose the name of the array is A, and if I want to access the first value of this array, so I'm just going to say A0, right? And this is going to give me this particular object. Similarly, if I just come out here and just say A1, this is going to give me this particular object, right? And if let's suppose we have a structure like this, wherein I have an array of objects, and I have, let's suppose, the name property, or the age property maybe, or the school property or stuff like that. How can I actually access this is going to be, I'm going to act to this first object out here. So I'm just going to write A0, and then whatever property that I want to access out here, I'm just going to say .name or maybe .age or whatever that I want to access out from there. I hope this makes sense. So this is basically called as array of objects, right? So are we good with this? This is called as array of objects. Okay. This particular stuff wherein we have an objects and we keep little objects inside it, this is called as array of objects. But you'll realize, if you'll have a look on the API very carefully, you'll see that everything that we see, even the keys, even the values out there that's in the API, you'll see that it's in string format. So if there is going to be an array of objects which is going to be in the form of string, that's called as a JSON, right? even if you want, you can keep this integer. Typically, it's not an integer, it's a number. Even if you want to keep this number inside string, that's going to be completely fine, right? Because we're going to go around and destructure that. So even if you keep this inside double quotes, that's going to be completely fine. But try and understand that if you have an array of objects and everything that you see out here is wrapped around double quotes or single quotes, just say that it's a JSON. I hope this makes sense. This notation, the string notation of array of objects, is called as JSON, JavaScript object notation. Are we good with this? Yeah, you can understand it like list of dictionaries if you're coming from the Python background. I hope this makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Now let's go around and talk about something of Twitter API. Now let's jump to, this was the basics part. Now let's jump to the Twitter API. Now for Twitter API, what we are going to do, we are going to go to, so I'm just going to close this tab real quick. And we are going to go to this particular URL, which says developer.twitter.com. And this would be the thing that would be showing up to you, right? First of all, it's going to ask you for the login. And right, once you log in inside that, you'll first will have to register yourself and tell Twitter that, hey, I am going to use your data. And you'll have to actually submit up a form out there, and it's going to take 2 to 3 days for you to register. And this would be the dashboard which would be coming in front of you. So this is how the dashboard looks like, right? And if you actually will go to the official documentation of the same, you're going to realize, yeah, you'll get the recorded sessions, don't worry about that. Right, so if you'll scroll down here, you're going to see again, we are getting a JSON-like data out here. Can you see that? We're getting a JSON-like data wherein we have few certain data, and then we have few certain values out there and related tags and related ID, and then few of the metadata related to the same. I hope this is making sense. Yeah, so this is what a Twitter API is going to do for us. We're going to talk about that, what this Twitter API is going to help us provide. But you could see that the structure of the Twitter API is going to be exactly as that of that we have just talked about. That's going to be a JSON data, right? So this is what we'll be getting out of this API, Twitter API, right? You could see that we have a data, then we have meta and stuff like that. JSON works with array of objects only? Not exactly. That depends. If you're working with Python, it's going to be, again, it's going to be a list of dictionaries. If you're working with any other frameworks, then that's going to be completely different, right? But in terms of JavaScript, I'm talking about, it's going to be array of objects, right? So I'm just going to talk about in terms of JavaScript, because this session is completely going to be based on JavaScript. So are we good with this? Are we good with this? Shall we go around and talk about what project is going to consist inside it? Let's go around and talk about the projects for a little second. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about what this Twitter Stream API is and what this is going to give us. Now, just try and understand and focus on what this application is going to be and how this application will eventually start to make sense. Because what's going to happen is that we are going to fetch tweets, real-time tweets. How to start with API if you're a beginner? Start with Ajax, asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Start with Ajax, then go to JavaScript fetch, and then come to Needle, right? This is the roadmap. So start with Ajax, go to fetch, and then start with Needle, right? So most probably we're going to do a lot of things on Needle, right? Chalo, let's move ahead. So when you talk about Twitter Stream API, let me tell you about that. Needle is better than Access? I think, yeah, it is. Ishan, it is. It definitely is. Yeah. You're talking about, no, you're talking about the library access. You're talking about the library, right? I hope you are. Oh no. You are taking my thing on a complete different basis, right? So in this case, when you talk about XCS, so XCS is, again, it's a part of NPM, right? It's a part of NPM. But the point here is going to be that it's completely different, and it has a completely different perspective on how you're going to, take on to, no, see, that's see, I can just come out here and I can be like, let's say, I will say that XML is better than, JSON for sharing out data. How about that? Let's talk it this way. If I say that XML data is better than JSON if you want to go around and communicate between client and server. How about that? Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So it completely depends on the user who's using it. For few people, Needle is going to do the job. For other people, Needle is not going to do the job. They're going to switch to Axios. I hope this is making sense, right? So yeah, it's completely up. It's a personal perspective, right? You cannot go around and say this library is not good or this library is not working or stuff like that. All right, let's not get diverted from the point. Let's come back to what's going to be in the Twitter Stream API. Now, in the Twitter API, what we're going to do, we are going to fetch few data, or we are going to fetch what's called as a live tweets, right? We are going to do live tweets, and you'll see all of these live tweets are going to be coming asynchronously. We have what asynchronous is. We're going to talk about that in a little second. But just what the main focus here is going to be that we are going to fetch live tweets, right? We are going to fetch live tweets. How? No idea, but we're going to do that. Okay. Now, these live tweets are going to be based on something. These are going to be based on something. What is this going to be based on? This is going to be based on a rule. What is a rule? Let's talk about that. Now, if you talk about a rule, this rule is going to be that what the user wants to see. What the user wants to see. For example, let's suppose I want to see all the tweets which are going to be related to, let's say, IPL, right? Or I want to see all the tweets which is related to maybe, let's say, giveaway. Or I want to see all the tweets which is going to be based on Xbox. So that means whatever a person is going to go around and search for, what we are going to do, we are going to fetch live tweets on the basis of a certain rule. So what we'll do, we'll describe a rule, and we are going to say that, hey, this is the keyword that I'm looking for. So a rule is basically nothing but a keyword, right? And depending upon those keywords, it could be just one keyword or it could be multiple keywords. And what we're going to do, we are going to fetch all the tweets related to the same. So in this session, we are going to be completely focused on that, how we are going to fetch these tweets and going to log it onto our console. And in tomorrow's session, we are going to take those tweets up and we're going to put it in the front end, right? Yeah, you can get anything for that matter. You can get likes, comments, tweets, retweets. You can get anything for that matter, right? So you can get anything, right? You can get tweets, you can get, you can get retweets, you can get likes, dislikes, comments, anything for that matter. The end result is going to be of this program that you should be able to learn how to fetch APIs, and you should be pretty much will be comfortable on working on Twitter API. That's for sure, right? And you'll fetch live tweets based on certain conditions and certain rules, right? Most probably we will, or maybe a little later because it's going to take a little time, right? So stay tuned with the Innomatics Research Labs LinkedIn page. Most probably we're going to go around and put the link out there. You can say that, but it's going to be something different as that of a clone rather than, because we are going to search tweets based on a rule, and that rule is completely going to be dependent on us. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So shall we start? Shall we start talking about that? Yeah, we can start. Great. So before we actually can start and, before we actually jump around onto coding, how many of you, be honest, because this is going to create a lot of fuss if you do not have an idea about client server architecture. Do you have an idea about client server architecture, or what do you call this as? Do you know about GET requests, post request types, and all of these things? Do you have an idea? No. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, got it. So let me give you a very clear idea, and I'm not going to take much time. I'm just going to take 2 to 3 minutes more, and I'm just going to explain you what a client server architecture looks like, right? So we are going to talk about client server architecture, and let's talk about how this client server architecture looks like. So there is going to be a client, which is definitely it's going to be us, right? This is us. Or then there is going to be a database, right? This is going to be a server, and in our case, the server is going to be the Twitter server, right? And what we are going to do, we are going to go around and communicate with this Twitter server, and we are going to, send few requests. We are going to give it few requests, and based on our requests, this is going to throw a response back. Seems out to be very simple, right? That we are going to send a request and it's going to give us a response. But actually, when we will actually go around and code this, This story is not going to be as simple as this, because there is actually a lot of things that goes around just, request and response. So what happens is that when you're sending a request from client side to server side, what happens is that this request should be a legit request. That means the request should be absolutely true. For example, I just showed you an example of an API, and somebody actually, stopped me in between and someone said, how about the security? If you talk about this Twitter API, you'll realize that this Twitter API is basically very secure. It's very, very secure. And because this is secure, it basically uses something called as tokens, or something called as, what you can say, it contains auth. You'll have to pass it with a key in order to make a request. You should be, it's not exactly JWT. This is called as bearer token. This is, a little advanced as compared to auth or JWT for that matter. So this is called as bearer token, right? So bearer token is like a little more advanced, secure way of doing the same thing. Again, you can make a GET request just by using what you call this as auth 0. You can do that as well. So you might have seen that already working. So, but in our case, it's going to be a bearer token, right? We are going to make use of bearer token and we are going to make a request. So when you make a request, you will have to pass few headers, and these headers basically contains all the access codes, right? So first of all, what we'd be needing is going to be the access code. And once we have this access code, we are going to integrate this in the header, and we are going to make a request. And alongside with request, we are going to also pass what the request is going to be, or what the rule is going to be. So alongside with that, we are going to pass few headers. We are going to pass our rules. And then alongside with that, this server is going to take onto a request, process this request, and going to give us the response back. Right now, this request is going to be either of the two types, or typically there are 5 to 6 types, but we are going to only cater on to two things. One is a GET request, the another one is a POST request. So try and understand this part very carefully, because I don't want you guys to get confused in the same. All right, so are you ready? Are we not using SQL? No, we are not using SQL. We are using Twitter as a backend. So Twitter would be the one. No, no. It's not like GET is secure, POST is not secure. It's not like that. Both are secured. There is a difference how this mechanism works. Like when you talk about the GET request, listen to me very carefully, all right? And after this, we're just gonna jump onto the code part. When you talk about a GET request is a type when you want to fetch the data from the server. Try and understand this part. When you're getting few information from the server to the client side, when you want to read something from the server, then you make a GET request. Are we good with GET request part? When we want to access something from the server, when we want to read something from the server, that is going to be a GET request. And when we want to write something, when we want to give something as an input to the server, that is going to be a POST request. When we tell our server what to do, or should we delete this, or should we add this, or when we try to make any changes in the server, that is going to be a POST request. So I hope both things make sense. GET is when you're getting few resources from the server to the client side, and when you are either posting something or you're writing something in the server, or you are trying to delete something, or you're trying to update something in that particular part, that is going to be a POST request. So I hope you get a difference between GET request and POST request. Yeah, not exactly backend of Twitter, but we are going to integrate the backend of Twitter to our application. We are going to fetch tweets from the same. GET is getting data, POST is putting data, yes. But alongside with putting data, you can actually delete that data, update that data, and you can perform any operations on that data apart from just reading the data. So GET is just going to be reading data, and just POST is just going to be posting data. And in this posting, you can go around and update, you can delete. You'll see we are going to delete as well. So you can delete, you can update, you can post something, or you can write something. So these are under the part of a POST request. Make sense? Make sense? So if you're good till here, let's just go around and hop into the code, and let's go around and try to integrate this, shall we? Are you ready? If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go around and code this up, shall we? Cool, great. Now, before I go around and code something, no, generally that doesn't happen with all of these top-notch companies like Apple. Have you ever seen, Ashwini, that Google server is down for a day or two? Have you ever seen that? No, right? because these company, I'm saying for a day or two. I said for a day or two. Just for a minute or just for 5 minutes, that's fine, because everybody's servers die, everybody's servers crashes. It's not like they are God. It does crashes, but not for a really long time. So keep that in mind. So generally it doesn't happen because it's a very high profile company. Now, before we actually go around and do this, I told you that when you'll be making a request, you'd be needing few things for the same. So let's go around and do that. So what we are going to do, we are going to design how to get followers on Twitter. Follow other people along, Aditya, and most probably they'll follow you back. I guess so. All right. So what we are going to do, we are going to get, the data from the Twitter server to our application. So for that, first of all, what we'd be needing to go around and create a project. So out here, you could see that I have a project called as Innomatics. And inside this Innomatics, I've actually created up a project called as Innomatics Twitter Stream API. Everyone can see this. So in the projects and app, I've created up a project called as Innomatics. And inside this, I've created up an app called as Innomatics Twitter Stream. Can you see this? Can you see this? Yeah. So once you actually get this developer portal, you can go around and submit your application. This is going to take like 2 to 3 days standard, and you'll get this platform itself, right? You just go to developer.twitter.com and just, register out there, right? And you can go around and create a project. So I already have a project created, which is Innomatics Twitter Streaming API. And here you'll see that I have an option to actually access keys and tokens, because that is something that I need to pass, because I want to integrate this into my application. So if I just go out here at keys and tokens, you'll see that I have few, keys and tokens and stuff like that, right? And because I've already generated this before, I'm just going to go around and regenerate it. Right. And this is what I have this, right? And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go around and copy this up. So you could see that bearer token is copied to the clipboard, and I'm just going to save it out somewhere, most probably. Or maybe, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to go out here. I'm just going to write bearer token, and I'm just going to go around and save it out, right? So this is going to be my bearer token, right? So I've saved this bearer token. Got it? Okay. So this is going to be the secret key that I'd be needing if I want to go around and integrate that. So shall we move ahead? Let's go around and design the application now. Okay. We have the token. We have the access to APIs, your Twitter streaming API. Let's now go around and create an application real quick, and let's see how this application is going to work. Shall we? Let's do that, guys. Let's do that. Okay, then. Just a little second, huh? Okay. Okay, let's do that. Now let me go around and minimize that. Now the project that I'm going to work on, it's going to be based on VS Code. So I'm going to write all the code at VS Code as my text editor. You can use any text editor for that matter. I have literally no problem, but make sure you have an integrated terminal in that. Right. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to my desktop. And here I'm just going to make a folder. And I'm just going to call this folder as Twitter Stream API. And then I'm going to go inside this folder. And I'm just going to open this up on VS Code. All right. Now, this would be the bare minimum thing that you'll get. I'm actually starting up with very, blank slate, a blank folder, right? So in here, I'm going to make this application on Node, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up my integrated terminal out here, and here I'm going to create a Node application. So if I want to create a Node application, first of all, you should have Node. If you don't, just go to the text editor and just write nodejs.org and just download this. Don't use PyCharm. Don't use PyCharm. Use any other text editor, but don't use PyCharm. Okay, you can just go around and download this, and if you'll come to your terminal once it's downloaded, it's Visual Studio. It's not Virtual Studio, it's Visual Studio. Visual, VISUAL, visual. And if you'll actually will come here and you'll write node -- version, you should pretty much be able to find out the version of the same, right? It's not good for Node.js and all of these kind of like applications. You can actually could use Sublime. Oh, Sublime would not have the integrated terminal, right? You can use IntelliJ if you want. You can use IntelliJ rather. Just go around and use IntelliJ. That's fine. Just use IntelliJ if you need that, right? IntelliJ is for Windows. Can you please say the symbol around? Oh, this one you're talking about? Share if are you talking about this one? The symbol? Oh, this is for like it's an alternative for Postman basically. So if you want to like test any APIs, you can actually do that. So you can make a new request. So it's an alternative for Postman, because you actually will have to migrate from one application to another. I generally don't do that. So I just test my APIs out here. All right, so let's do one thing. Yeah, Thunder Client. Yeah, I've actually started using it like very recently. All right, so let's make it let's make it a Node application. So if you want to make it a Node application, install Node, and then what we are going to do, we are going to make this application as a Node application. So for that, what we are going to do, we are just going to write npm init. And once we do this npm init, and if you press enter, this is going to ask you a few certain questions, right? Just to skip this question, I'm going to put a flag out here just saying, -y, and it's going to skip all the questions. So if I press enter, you're going to see that a package would be created, or a JSON file would be created, which will be called as package.json. Now this package.json is going to contain all the things that we are going to store in here locally. So there are going to be few technologies that we'll be working on. So let's go around and install them up, right? So we talked about the technologies. The technologies that I'm going to install is going to be just installing Node.js. You won't be able to go around and code along with me, because most probably you won't have all of that thing that I'll be requiring, like code and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be a bigger challenge for you, because you don't have a developer portal, right? So how will you go around and access the bearer token or the keys for that matter, right? So you can just go around when you'll be having, you can just rewind back to this video and you can just come back here and start working on the same. All right. Now in here, I'm going to make use of few technologies like Express. First of all, I'd be needing Express. I'm just going to write npm install Express. Then alongside with that, I'd be needing Needle. And then I'll be using something called as SocketIO. And I'm going to use the SocketIO at the time when I'll be working on the front end part. So right now, I'm just not going to use SocketIO, but I'm going to go around and install that, because most probably when I'll be rendering whole of this application onto my front end, I'll be needing socket.io, right? And then I'll be needing one more thing, which is going to be .env. And this .env is going to contain all my bearer code, right? So .env, I'm just gonna press enter, right? So let's go around and wait for it to install. So you could see that everything would be installed out here. You could see that I have .env, I have Express, I have Needle, and I also have socket.io. Now for that, I am going to install one more thing. Most probably I'm not going to need it, but just to be on a safe side, I'm going to install something called as NodeMon. And I'm going to install it as a deb dependency. So I'm just going to say -d, and I'm just going to say NodeMon. So NodeMon basically gives you a functionality wherein you do not need to restart your server over and over again. So the people who might have worked on REST APIs in Node, they'd be needing the application of NodeMon, right? I do not need that. Yeah, it's for the live server. So I'm just going to add it as a dev dependency, right? Because I don't need it globally. So I just generally install it as a dev dependency. And you can see that in the dev dependency, I have NodeMon out here. Alongside with that, what I'm going to do out here, I'm going to add few scripts, because I would be running the application. So let's say I'm going to start, I'm going to write a start script. And in this start script, I'm going to run a file. And most probably this file is going to be inside a folder, which I'm going to create, which is going to be server. And inside the server, I'll have something called as index.js file, right? So this is what I'll be using. Another script that I'm going to add, that is going to be dev, in order to go around and develop the application. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say nodemon server.index, right? So this is what we're going to do. We have two scripts, the start script and dev script, and we're just going to save that up. I'm going to close this for a little second. All right. Now let's actually go around and create a .env file, I'll say. So let's go around and create .env file. And this .env file is basically going to contain the main code that is going to be the bearer token. And I do not want this to go around lost, because I am going to put that inside this .env folder. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come here and say Twitter bearer token. What is env? So it's basically an environment. So it's a virtual environment that you actually go around and create, and you can access this up pretty much from anywhere, throughout your application. So that's like pretty cool stuff. So that is why I'm creating this. Right? You can just come here. I'll just come back to this part when I'll be using process.env. This will actually start to make sense, and you can see that I've saved up this particular bearer token. All right, this is the bearer token that I have. So this is what I've saved. Right, and I've kept it inside a variable called as Twitter bearer token, and this is the token that I have. So I'm just going to go around and close this up. Okay, now in here, yeah, you can say that. Not exactly, but yeah, you can say that. And now here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to now create the project. And in order to go around and create the project, what I'd be doing, I'm going to create a file, or I should say, I'm going to create a folder, and I'm just going to call this server. Because if you remember, in the package.json file, we have written this, that there is going to be a folder called a server, and inside the server, we are going to have a file which is going to be called as index.js file. Right, so I'm just going to go around and create this index.js. So in here, we're going to write all the code along in order to get the data from the Twitter API. All right, so are we good? Are we good till here? Anything that you want to ask as of now? Are we good till here? Any doubts? If you don't, then give me a yes. We're going to move ahead. Are we all ready? Great. From where can we get the bearer token? I just explained to you. You just need to go to this portal, which is Twitter developer account. And in here, if you'll go out there, it's just going to give you an option out here. Once you log in with your Twitter login, it's going to give you an option out here at the right hand side. It's going to say apply, right? So you'll have to first apply for this developer account. And once you get this, you'll get the bearer token as well, right? So you'll just have to write a 2-page application for the same. And once you're done with that, you're going to see now. Yeah, no, it doesn't take 5 minutes. It's going to take 2 to 3 days, right? Because now the process has been changed and they actually review your application. So it's going to take 2 to 3 days. Yeah, just for applying, just for actually getting a developer portal. So it's going to take a little time. Yeah, it does. I'm sorry for that, but it does. Secure people. What can we say? All right, so should we move ahead? Let's go around and design the application. Shall we? Are you ready? If you're ready, I'm ready. Just give me a yes if you're ready. Quickly. Yeah, cool, great. So first of all, what we're going to do, we are going to get few requirements that we'd be having. For example, the dependencies that we have added. So first of all, what I'd be needing is going to be the needle part. So I'm just going to write here const needle, because I want to make a request, like a get request or a post request to the server. So in that particular case, I'd be needing something called as needle. So I'm just going to say needle, right? Then I'd also be needing something called as config. So I'm just going to create this config, and this config is just going to require .env. And in this .env, I'm going to go around and config this. So you can go around and tap onto this function called as config. So it's just going to, integrate this .env and everything that is written inside this .env to this config. And you can go around and change the config if you want. Alongside with the same, you can, access up your token if you want. So you can just come here and say const token. You can come here and just say process.env dot Twitter bearer token, right? And just to be on a safe side, let's can go around and console this log. So let's say console log token. So if we get this token back, that means the application is working completely fine. So let's go around and run this application. So in order to run this, you remember that we have written a script out there that in order to run this, it's going to just say npm start y.env Why .env and not .env? So okay, so .env is basically a library that we have just installed. If you'll just have a look on your package.json, you have .env as a dependency, right? So in order to use this .env as a secure place where you're going to keep all your tokens and stuff like that, you'll have to have this as a dependency out there, which is going to be .env. No, it's not necessarily, because you don't have to install JavaScript, right? JavaScript is already there. The only thing that you need to install is going to be Node, because Node is a runtime for JavaScript. So if you have Node, you can write any applications on JavaScript. Ravi, we on the same page, right? So just go around and install Node. That's going to be completely fine. So you could see the moment I did npm start, you could see that it has started returning me with the the token, right? The bearer token that I have, which is coming from this .env, because that's what we have done, right? So you could see that process.env, and we're getting this Twitter bearer token, and we're accessing this out. That means our .env file is working completely fine. So let's go around and get rid of this. Now what we're going to do, just try and understand this. Now I am going to break this whole application into 2 to 3 different things, and right, and we are going to go around and create these 2 different 4 to 5 different things. But before that, actually, let's go and do all the setup for communication, because what we'd be needing is we'll have to go around and communicate to Twitter API backend. We don't use import anymore. Like we used to work on imports when we used to work on what we call this as ES5, but in ES6, imports is deprecated. Rather, we use something called as require now. So you could see that we are requiring .env, and we're configuring that env. So yeah, we don't use imports anymore in ES6 typically. And if you don't know about ES6, I'll highly recommend you go around and check the official documentation of MDN. You'll get a lot of different things out there. Hemant, you good? Okay, so we don't use imports and exports. We rather use require in ES6. Yeah. No, it does, but that's what I'm saying. It's deprecated. You can use, I'm not saying that you can't use it. You can actually, but it's deprecated. Nobody uses it anymore. Not professionals for sure. Right? Yeah, it's deprecated. All right, so let's set up the communication environment. So we'd be having few different things, as you could see out here. What we are going to do, if you'll just have a look on the documentation is like pretty straightforward. So what we are going to do, this is the expansions part. So if you'll come out here, you're going to find that if you'll actually go to search tweets, what we are going to see is going to be, let's go around and check for filtered stream. Oh, this is like completely different. So we have the bearer token already. How can I show it to you people? So if you'd see out here, there is a URL that we actually need to access. If you want to go and make a request, we'll have to access this app. So if you go to tweets, sample stream. So I don't actually remember. They have actually changed their documentation. Chalo, I'll just give you the link if that's the case. You can go around and have a look. So there are 2 kinds of URLs. If you want to make a request to Twitter API, there are two URLs that you'll have to make use of. There is a rule URL. And what does this rule URL do? We're going to talk about that in a little second. So what it does is basically whatever you're trying to search, it's just going to filter all the stuff out. And depending on that filtration, it's going to give you whatever rules that you're searching for. So rule is basically nothing but a keyword that you're searching for. So you'll generally will hear me up saying rule over and over again. So if I'm saying rule, that typically means the keyword that you're searching for. So if you're searching for one particular rule or one particular keyword, in that case, you'll have to make a request to this rule URL. And the rule URL that we have is this going to be HTTPS, and it's going to be api.twitter.com. And this is going to be /2/tweets, I guess, /search/stream/rules. It's very simple. So if you'll keep on working on this, you'll actually will remember all of these stuff, right? So I've worked pretty much on this particular part. And then there is going to be a stream URL. And what this stream URL is going to do, it's going to give you all the tweets back depending upon whatever the rule of yours is going to be. So I'm just going to call this stream URL. And on the stream URL, it's going to be just till here. I'm just going to copy this out. I'm going to paste it in, right? But what you can do is basically you'll have to get in. So if you'll just have a look on the documentation part, in the documentation, you can easily find out what do we have and what do we get if we try to search the tweets. So you can see out here, just have a look out here. If you'll just carefully will have a look, everyone can see it. Everyone is paying attention. This is the most important and crucial part, because if you get it out here wrong, we'll do that. Don't worry. We'll figure that out. Abhinav, thank you so much for telling me that, but let's talk about that. So everybody's paying attention. Everyone is here. Everyone is here. Now, if you'll have a look out here, you'll see that once you integrate the API and once the API starts to give you data back, what would be the data that would be coming around? The data is going to be, once it's going to be the data, right? Whatever the text of the data is going to be. So what do you get is just text, and alongside with text, what do you get is few certain metadata, right? And you can actually go around and look for different things using a tag which is called as has, right? So you can just go around and say if the particular thing has images, or it has this amount of likes or more amount of likes, or does it has retweets, does it has, you know, this amount of comments and stuff like that. You can go around and, you know, fetch anything for that matter, right? So what I'm going to do, I am going to append this in my URL, and I'm going to say that once I stream, the tweets.field should contain a public matrix. And what does this public matrix do? Is equals to public matrix. And this public matrix is going to give you the same text and the metadata that we just had a look on, right? So if you write this URL and alongside with this, tweak around with this and say, the tweets.field should have all the public matrices that we just had a look on the documentation, which is going to contain a text and a metadata. So you can be able to go around and stream the, what do you call them as, the tweets, right? Alongside with that, what's most interesting, if you'll just come out here at the expansion, you can actually get a lot of different things out from here. You can get the author ID, you can get the reference tweet, you can see the replies, you can see the attachments if you want, and you can see all the places. You can actually get the typical location of one particular tweet, when it was made and where it was made from. So there are a lot of different things. So just to make this application real simple, I'm just going to tweak around with this author ID. Yeah, these arguments are all these parameters, because we are going to append this in the header, right? This is where we'll be going or making a request to, right? So this is what we are doing. So alongside with that, because I'll be needing an author ID, yeah, it's a request parameters. We are going to attend this in the header in a little bit, right? So in this case, I'm also going to add an ampersand, and I'm just going to say that the expansions, I also would be needing expansions. I would be needing author ID, author_ID that we just had a look on. And somebody was saying that my search spelling is wrong, and he was definitely right. SEARCH, right? Sure. So this completes with the setup, and now we are ready to stream the tweets. Let's do that. All right. Now, before we actually go around and stream the tweets, there are a few things that we'll have to go around and look for. All right. What we are going to do, first of all, the first thing that we are going to do is to set the rules, because see, if you remember, when you're talking about these tweets and when you're talking to extract these tweets from the Twitter API, what you need is going to be a rule. So first of all, we'll have to set the rule. So I told you that what the rule is going to be. The rule is going to be very, very simple. It's going to be the keyword that you're searching for. So this is going to be the keyword part, whatever keyword that you're searching for, right? And once you get this keyword, you're going to pass this keyword while you'll be making a request. So in here, I'm just going to say const rules. And keep that in mind when you are keeping these rules and when you're keeping this as keywords, this always is needed to be an array, right? So you could see I'm creating an array, and inside this, I'm going to pass my keyword as an object. So I'm just going to say value. And let's say, what do we want to search for? The most popular keyword that I found as of for now is going to be giveaway, right? Giveaway, like free giveaways, people search for all of these giveaways and stuff like that. So the rule that I've said, the keyword that I've said, that I'll be looking for all the tweets which are going to give something for free, right? So I'm just going to look for the giveaway part, right? And this is what it's going to be my rule. I can go around and search for multiple rules. I can pass in another object out here and just give the value, but I'm not going to show it to you as of now. I'm just going to show it to you in a little second, but let's go around and make a request to this particular rule, which is going to be the giveaway rule. Let's go around and do that. Now, what we are going to do, we are going to fetch the tweets. What we are going to do, we are going to fetch the tweets for the same. I don't understand the query parameter. Which one? These one, rules URL and the stream URL that you're talking about? The rule URL and stream URL? The stream URL part. Okay, so stream URL, I just told you in the stream URL, you're going to search for something, right? You're going to search for this particular rule. Okay, man, you're going to search for one particular rule. And then what you're going to do, you are going to get the public matrix. And what is this public matrix? This public matrix is this. This is the public matrix. In the public matrix, what do you get? You get the data, and alongside with that, you get a meta. So if you want to get this thing, you will have to append something called as this tweets.field is equals to public matrix. So if you're just writing public matrix, you'll get the data and the metadata related to the same. But if you want more data alongside with that, this question mark is just the way of appending something alongside with whatever you have in the URL, right? So this is going to be the actual URL, and alongside with that, you're going to add few additional information. So if you want to add additional information apart from the actual URL, you just do something like question mark, right? And then you're appending two different things. The two different things is going to be, first, the public matrix is going to be the part, and the next thing is going to be this ampersand that you can see. And then after that, you're saying expansion. I would be liking author ID. If you want to get more thing, you can go around and tap in here and whatever you want, you can just mention out here. You can say expansions is equals to, let's say, retweet, right? Or whatever that you want. So this is how you create, the stream URL. So whatever you want to stream, you're going to stream this way. All right, then. So let me just go around and delete that up, save. And now we are going to go around and fetch the tweets. Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? If you are, I am as well, right? Now, if you want to fetch these tweets, there is going to be few things that you'll have to do. First thing, you will have to set the rules, right? You have to set the rules. And how do you set these rules? You set these rules by giving this rules parameter to the function while you'll be making a request. How will we make a request? By using something called as needle, right? We'll make a get request and pass this rules, and I typically should have the data back. That's what I want, right? So what we're going to do, we are going to set the rules, and for that we are going to create a function, which is in turn it's going to be making a get request and passing these rules. Yeah, it's going to be asynchronous. You do not need to refresh about this, right? It's going to be asynchronous. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a function which is going to be called as, let's say, function, let's say, get rules. Oh, rather, first of all, let's get the rules, because the point here is going to be, first of all, let's get the rules. We're going to set the rules later. So let's say I'm going to create a function called as get rules. And in this get rules, what we are going to do, we are going to pass these rules, and we should be able to get the, the required data back. And if we get that, that means our application is working completely fine, right? But keep that in mind, this function is going to run even when you reload the page, or even if you don't. So it's going to work asynchronously. Without even you refreshing the page, you should get the data back. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to call this function as an asynchronous function. So I'm just going to call this async, and I'm just going to call this function as asynchronous, right? So what is this asynchronous doing? It's just telling you that even if you don't refresh the page, or even if you don't refresh your server, still I should be able to get the rules on runtime. Okay, so this is just an asynchronous function. Now in this asynchronous function, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a request to the, this rule URL, right? And I should be able to get the rules. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to say const response, and this is going to be returning up a promise, because we are using async. For the people who don't know what a promise is going to be, what we are going to do, we are going, because see, try and understand, we just think about it in this way, we are using this function as asynchronously. That means even if we do not reload the page, this should work. So we'll have to wait for the connection to be built. So what we do, we just call this await, right? So what this await is going to do, this await is going to wait for this function to actually go around and reload, because we are not the ones who's going to reload the page, because we're making this function as asynchronous, right? So if you're making this function as asynchronous, you'll have to wait for the function to actually go around and reload itself. And then what we are going to do, we are going to call Needle. Now, if you remember, we talked about Needle, and this Needle is going to make a connection between your client and the server. And the server here is at a part of rules URL. Preventing deadlock, we are going to make try and catch afterwards when we'll be getting the tweets back, right? So don't worry about the deadlock part, okay? So in here, if you'll actually will go to the documentation of Needle, you'll see out here that in Needle, you can make requests in various different sections, right? So the ones that I'll be using, I'm going to make use of this one part. I'm going to use this part, right? So this is the case wherein you can, what you can do is just get request to a certain URL and can pass whatever you want, and you'll get a promise back. So don't worry about what I'm writing, because this is like in the official documentation. So don't worry about that. So what am I going to do in the Needle? I'm going to make a get request. So get request is to fetch the data. Where will I fetch the data from? I'll fetch the data from rules URL, and alongside with that, I need to pass the headers. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass headers, and in the headers, I'm going to mention headers, and in the headers, I actually need to pass something called as authorization. And in the authorization, what will I pass? I'm going to pass a string in the authorization, and the string is going to be bearer. And alongside with that, I should have the token, and that token, as you can see out here, is in the token. So I'm just going to pass this token. Right, so this is going to be the header part. So what we are doing, just try and understand that what we are doing, we are going to make a get request to this rule URL, which is this rule URL, which is going to give you the streams of the rule, and then it's going to make a header, right? It's going to make a header section wherein it's just going to consist your bearer token, just to make the authorization and authentication, right? And after that, you should be able to get the response back, right? You should be able to get the response back. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say return what response.body, right? But before I actually go around and get this body back, what I want to do is console log this body as well. Console.log, I want to see that as well, right? I'm just going to say console.log whatever we have in the response.body. I should be able to see that. Okay. Now the point here is, now everyone is pretty okay till here. So what we are doing, we are making a get request to a particular URL, which is this stream URL, and we are passing the header as a token. And in here, you could see that what I'm doing is getting the response body back, right? As of now, we have not set the rules. We are only getting the rules. We'll set the rules in the next function, but just try and understand that what we are doing, we are getting the rules as of now. And in the rules part, if you remember what we are going to get, we are going to get the text or whatever that the data is going to be. And alongside with that, what we are going to get is going to be a few metadata related to the same, right? And this was the response. Once the connection is done, the response would be the thing that would be passed on from server to the client. And then we are going to destructure that, and we're going to only get the body part. So are we good till here? Guys, are we good till here? I hope we are okay and you're not getting confused. So just try to wrap your head around it. So shall we move ahead? Chalo. So now in this case, what's going to happen, that what we are doing, we are getting this data back. Now the point here arises, try and understand, even the people who are just into basic programming, just think about that if you're creating a function, yeah, this is the syntax of Needle to make a get request. Yes, Hemant. right? Now just try and understand that if you want this function to execute, somebody should call this function, because that's like basic programming. If we are creating a function, we should have something which is going to call the function. Yes or no? Yes or no? What do you think? That if you want this function to work, somebody should call this function, else this function is not going to work. As simple as that. So in Node, we have something called as ify. Anyone who has heard about ify? Have you heard about ify? Yeah, you have. For the people who don't know ify is just a way of creating a function which runs automatically, right? Which runs automatically. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a function in a way wherein I would be able to, just, create this function. And how does this looks like? Response body. So response body, I've created up, see, try and understand. I've created up a variable called as response. And in this response, what we are doing, we are making a connection. And once this connection to this particular URL is set and it's done, that the database or the backend, the server is going to share you out with the files. And that file is going to be the response and it will be stored out here. And whatever would be the response, I'm going to look into the body of that response. That's it. Ashwin. So this is a variable which is making a connection. And once the connection is set, your backend is going to share you out with the data. The API is going to share you out with the data, and that would be contained inside this response. And what we are doing, we are getting this response body back. But the point here is that how are we going to call this get rules function? So for that, what we'll be using, that's something called as ify. So ify is a function that runs automatically and asynchronously, right? So how does this look like? It looks like this. So it's a function that calls itself automatically, right? And in here, what we are going to do, I'm going to create an asynchronous function because I do not want to reload the page, of course. So I'm just going to create an asynchronous function, or rather, let me do it this way. Let me create an asynchronous function, and this is going to be the asynchronous function, and this is going to be an arrow function, right? Now, along in here, what I'm going to do now, just try and understand this part. This is going to be the more, yeah, you can just understand it like a recursion, but it's more than recursion, to be honest, right? It's just a function that runs automatically, as simple as this, right? So it runs automatically. Now, this is the main part. Just understand this main part. What we are going to do, is that we will be taking on to the rules, right? We'll take on to the rules. We'll set that to current rules, and then we are going to pass that in the function. That's it. So what I'm going to do, let's see if you'll understand good. If you'll not, I'm going to explain you up. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say current rules, right? Because we want to get the rules. So what we are going to do, we are just going to get the current rules, and I'm going to put a try catch block. So try catch block is a block wherein whatever things that you want to specify. Oh, why does this give me a error? Oh, okay, got it. Don't worry about that. Declaration of the statement expected. We are going to declare that. Don't worry. So in the try block, what we are going to do, we will be setting the rules, right? We're just going to say, no, sorry, getting the rules. So I'm just going to get the rules, right? I'm just going to get the rules. And how do I get the rules? Oh, async. So how are we going to get the rules? We are going to get the rules by putting this current rules in the point of where I'm going to get the rules. So I'm just going to say await, because again, it's an asynchronous function and we'll have to wait for it. So I'm just going to say get rules. Or rather, I should write it this way. This is going to be much better and cleaner code. So I'm just going to say await and get the rules, right? And once we have these rules, what we are going to do, we are just going to, let's say, console log this, right? So I'm just going to say console.log, whatever the current rules is going to be, right? And if we get an error, we're just going to console log the error, and then I'm just going to stop the process. So I'm just going to say, either I can do it the other way around, maybe, or let's say this process.exit. 1. Yeah, let's do that. Let me get rid of that. Save. And let's see, let's run the application now. I guess I'm gonna get the response back pretty much easily. Chalo, let's go around and start this. So if I start the server, let's see, this should work. So you could see that we are getting few data back. Can you see that? Can you see this? We are getting few data back. So we are getting the data, and alongside with that, we are also getting the meta. That was as expected, because if you'll have a look on the documentation part, this is what was expected. You'll get a data and you'll get a metadata. That means I am able to get the rules. Now the point here is, yeah, it's a real data. You'll see when we'll be creating the full-fledged application, when we'll stream the API, or when we'll stream the Twitter, you'll see that these are actual real-time live tweets, right? But there are 2 more functions that we'll have to go around and create. So shall we do that? Shall we do that? Chalo, let's do that quickly. And let's not waste time. All the other part is going to be very, very easy if you have actually understood this. So if you have understood this part, the get rules part, if you're good with that, just give me a yes, we'll move ahead. Most probably this is just going to take like 15 to 20 minutes more and we'll be done with the application. Yeah, please, Manthan, please. Please ask me. I'm waiting for your doubt. We have passed the values as giveaway. I'll tell you about that. Don't worry. I'll tell you about that. You'll be saying that it's giving you Avengers and stuff like that, right? That's what you're asking. Yeah. Yeah, it's giving you Avengers and stuff like that. I'll tell you about that. Don't worry. This is a point where actually your Twitter API fails, and that's the third function that we are going to do. Don't worry. We are going to give the rules now because we have not passed any rules. See, we are only getting the rules back, right? It's an anonymous function that runs when the JS. Yeah, you can say that. So it's basically like a function calling itself, right? It's the same way. It's a function that calls itself. And whatever you're going to write inside that, automatically that's going to run because that's, an anonymous function. It's not exactly an anonymous function. Typically, you can call this as a function calling itself, right? So like anonymous function as a concept is like completely different. Now what we're going to do, we are going to set the rules. So it's going to go in the catch block. So if there is going to be any error, if there is any deadlock or anything that's created, so it's just going to log the error saying the deadlock was created, and it's just going to end the process. That's it. Okay, that is why we have called this function inside the if, right? So if something goes bad with this function, it's going to be catched out here, and it's going to try out here, and it's going to be catched out here in this error. It's just going to console log that, and it's just going to stop the process. That's simple as this. V17 makes sense. Okay. Now the point here is going to be to set the rules. Now we're going to set the rules. What rules are we going to set? The rules, the array rules that we have kept. We are going to pass this around. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this out, and it's going to look exactly the same how this is going to look. And I'm, rather than calling this get, I'm just going to call this set. And in here, now just try and understand. If you are setting the rules, see, try and understand. If you are setting the rules, if you are giving the data to the server, what kind of request is it going to be? Is it going to be a get request, or is it going to be a post request? It's going to be a post request, right? It's going to be a post request. So in this case, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get rid of get, and I'm just going to call this post request, right? Okay. Now in this case, what we are going to do, we are going to add the data, right? So we are going to add what the data that I'll be having. So in this case, what we are going to do, the data to be passed in being mentioned in the rule, because that's the data that we want mentioned in the rule. So in this case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a const data. And in this data, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put an add, and what I'm going to add is this rule. That's the rules, right? So I'm just going to say add and rules. This is how you make a post request to Twitter API. And then this data would be passed out here, right? After this, I'm just going to pass this data back. I'm just going to put a comma, right? So what you're doing, you are making a data and you're adding all your rules, whatever rules that you have out here, right? You're going to pass this rules and then you're going to make a post request to this particular URL and going to pass this data, and whatever would be the part is going to be given to you people, right? So now let's go to the IFI and call this function. And so let's first set the rules. Let's first set the rules and then we'll get the rules, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm just gonna come here out and say await, and I'm just gonna call the set rules function, right? So we are going to set the rules. What would be the rule? That this is going to be a takeaway, and all the tweets that I want, which is going to contain the keyword giveaway. We're going to set that rule first. And once we set that rule, we are going to get that rules back, right? And all the tweets related to the same. So let me go around and save that up. I think I've made a mistake. Const data. Oh, sorry. Save. Now let's go around and clear the console and let's go around and run this. Now see here, errors, exactly one, either add or delete must be specified. So I've specified that add. So it's sending me the value of Avenger still. I have made something mistakenly up here, I guess. So matrix. Oh, this should basically be fields rather than a field. This should work now. I'm just going to say npm start. One or more parameters to expect. Problem in the invalid request. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna make an api.twitter.com/2/tweet/search/stream to tweets.fields is equals to public matrix. And you missed the rules. What rules? No. So I'm going to make an HTTPS to api.twitter.com/2/tweet/search/stream/rules. Where exactly you're talking about? It's saying that it's an invalid request. In stream URL, stream.rules. That's what I've kept. Streams.rules. Stream/rules in the stream URL. No, so we are not making any connections to the stream URL as of now, guys. We are just making a request to this rules URL. So something is bad with this, rules URL. Exactly one of the either add or delete must be specified. All right, let's see that we might have done a mistake somewhere out there. All right. I just gonna go around and check this real quick. HTTPS API. Oh, API. No, just give me 1 second. API.twitter.com/tweets/search/stream/rules. No, we don't actually, but I said const response is equals to await needle, get rule URL, headers, authorization, bearer token. Just 1 second. Bearer token, logging the response body. Makes sense. Return the response body. Cool. And then we are going to set these rules and we're going to say the data is going to be add to these rules and response is going to be await needle. Oh, you know what? I got it. So what the problem is here is going to be that we have to mention, I believe, the content type, because we are going to have a look on application JSON, kind of like an object. So I'm just going to say application/JSON. I believe this should work now. Application JSON. So let's go around and try this out once more. If again, it's going to be a bad request, we're going to see that. Created 1, not created 0. So you could see we are getting giveaways, right? So we're now getting giveaways. We have another one you could see, and let me tell you one more thing. See, let's say, okay, what are you guys interested in? Just give me anything. Anything, any stuff that you're interested in. Anything that you're interested in, any topic. So I just need a value that you just want to have a look on. Anything? Custom PC. Okay, we can have a look on custom PC, but anything like which is going to be more relevant and Apple event. So let's go around and just tap onto Apple, let's say. Apple event is going to be too much. Let's go around and tap onto Apple, let's say. So let's go around and save that. And let's clear the console and let's go around and run this again, right? So you'll figure out that we are getting Apple. We are getting giveaways. We are getting tweets of Avengers as well. I don't know why, but we are. Now, even see, try and understand this. Even if we actually go around and remove this and save this back and run this application once more, there is a problem with this, that it's still going to show me Apple and all the other things that I might have added previously. This is a problem. Yeah, this is a problem with Twitter API. So for that, what I'm going to do, just try and understand this. What am I going to do? I am going to delete the rules first and then set the rules. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a function to delete the rules. Right? Let's do that quickly, really quick. And then we are going to stream these data back. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this out. So it's going to look exactly the same way. But in here, I'm just going to say delete rules. Delete rules. And in this delete rules, first of all, I'm just going to come out here and I'm just going to check if the rules is an array or not. The rules that I'm setting is its rules is an array or not. So I can just come out here and I can say if array dot is array, and I pass my rules. And if it's not an array, what I'm going to do is just going to return nothing. I'm just going to return null. So I should be very, very particular that the rules that I'm getting, or I'm just going to pass rules out here. And if the rules is not an array, I'm just not going to return anything. And then what am I going to do? I am going to map these rules or match these rules one by one and remove the duplicates or remove the ones which is not included, remove the ones not included. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to get on to these rules part. Yeah, correct. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create const IDs and I'm just going to say rules dot data dot map. And what I'm going to map here is going to be the IDs. And in this IDs, or rather, let's go around and map onto rules. Let's say our one rule is going to be one rule. And then I'm going to get every rule.id. So see what I'm doing. I'm saying, hey, what I'm going to do, I'm going to match my previous rule with the current rule. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get all the IDs of the rules, all the ID of the rules. And once I get all these IDs, what I'm going to do in the data part, I'm just going to put this as delete. And what I'm going to do, all the IDs which is not being mentioned in the earlier ones, I'm just going to delete those IDs. I'm just going to say IDs is going to be the IDs that I'm fetching out, right? So I'm just going to get all the rules. And from these rules, one by one, from every rule, I'm going to fetch out the ID. And whatever is going to be the current rule, what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove and delete those ones which are not included in the giveaway or whatever rules that we have set as of now. So down there, what we are going to do, first of all, we are going to get all the streams. So let's put it this way. And then we are going to delete the rules once we get that. So let's say delete the rules because we don't want duplicates for sure. So we're going to delete the rules. How? By await, and then we are going to say delete rules. And in this case, I'm going to pass whatever the current rules is going to be, right? So it's just going to delete all the duplicate rules, and then we are going to set the new rules, right? So I'm just gonna cut this out and I'm just gonna paste it down below at this, right? So just try and understand how the application is working. We were getting duplicates data back, right? We were getting the duplicates, the rules that we were setting out there, right? Affect the code? It doesn't. It does not. It does not. See, so what the problem was when we were getting all of these things, so what it was doing, it was taking the previous rules back. So what I did, I said that all the rules that I'll be having, I'll map through them, I'll get through all of these rules, and I'm going to get the rule ID of all of these things, right? And I'm only going to delete those rules which are not included in the part of the rules part, right? And then at the IFI, what I did, I get the whole of the rules and I save that inside the current rule. So current rule is going to contain all the values that I mentioned in the rules part. And then it's going to delete that particular rules. So whatever is going to be included in the rules, it's going to be included. Apart everything from that, it's just going to go around and remove, and it's going to clean the slate and going to put the rules back. So let's see how does this work. So what am I going to do if I just do npm start? So you could see out here, you could see we get the data, something got created, duplicate rule, duplicate rule. Wait, if I'm deleting the rules, I'm passing on to the rules part, right? Pretty cool. We are passing on to rules. We are checking if that rules is an array or not. And then we are creating IDs, which is going to be rules.data.map. And we are getting all the rules, the rule one by one, and we are setting this to rule ID. Comes to data, it's going to be IDs as the IDs. We're going to wait for the needle. It's going to be post request. The data which is being passed out here, the content type, we have mentioned everything. And then we're going to response this case, right? So in this case, I'm just going to give the giveaway, right? And down at the bottom, we are just going to see, we definitely can. So out here, I'm just going to get the rules. Then we're going to delete these rules. And then we're going to set these rules, right? All right, let's go around and check this out once more. So it's giving me Apple, it's giving me giveaway, it's giving me Avengers, it's giving me pretty much everything, right? So that means something is bad with the delete part. No, it's not going to improve the job. Just a second. I think I messed something out here. Is array, rules, const IDs, data. Yeah, delete, we are passing this as delete, right? Saying delete. This is an IDs as an IDs, which is this IDs. No, just we are doing it right, I believe. So we will actually first set the rules, right? We'll get all the stream rules, whatever the stream rules are going to be, whatever stream rules we're going to have, we are going to get that. Then we are going to delete the existing rules. So we're just going to say await and whatever the current rules are, that's what we are passing, right? And we are getting this out at the rules. And then we are checking whatever the rules is going to be. And if this is a rule, It's one and the same thing. You're going to get a lot of rules. So it's just a name. It's just a local variable. Const IDs. So I'm just saying rules.data.map and I'm passing a rule and rule.id. Just give me 1 second. Let me just go around and debug this real quick. And then I'm saying const data. And in this data, I'm just going to put a delete. And this is going to be the IDs. So everything seems to be fine. Const response is equals to await needle post request to this rule URL, the data. We're passing the header as content type application JSON, authorization bearer token, and so long response. Can we delete rules directly instead of IDs? No, we can't. That is why we'd be needing IDs. So rules.data.map. Check out the. So, yeah. I think everything seems to be fine. I believe try current rules, await get rules, console log current rules. So you're getting the current rules, but what you're not getting is the deleted rules, right? So not created is 1, await set rules. Oh, everything seems fine, but why is it not working? Let's check this out. It's saying title as duplicate rules. Or let's try around giving it something else. Let's say Xbox. Save. Now if we clear the console, I believe this should work. Yeah, correct. So now this is only giving me Xbox. Can you see that? So it was just, it was just sad because what you were deleting was basically the same thing. So I hope now this makes sense. So we actually had written the right code. It was saying that it's see now what's happening. Initially the data was this, then it deleted few certain things, which is going to be this data. And then at the end, you could see that it gives you the new rules that you have, right? So in this case, if I actually go around here, rather in the delete part, I can yeah, so it's working fine. So you can see now we only have Xbox. So let's say we go out here and we say the another rule that I have out here, which is going to be the value. And the value here, let's suppose, is going to be IPL. So if I save this, clear, go back, just see the output, right? So what happens out here, it's going to be, so all the deleted new rules were posted. Yeah, correct. So this you could see that it has created up an IPL part for you, right? It created one, right? And then it also, oh, why is it giving me an error for the Xbox part? Rules.map IDs, because we deleted it, right? Yeah, but it's already there in the rules. It's there in the rules, right? So yeah, in the new rules, Xbox is also there now. So I think let's make a little changes in the delete rules, I guess. And what would be the changes that could be done? So I'm just gonna say delete the ID. So I'm just gonna say rules.data.map a particular rule to this rule.id, right? So what if we do delete first and then the but actually this delete rules should be knowing what the current situation of the rules is now. So if we don't get the rules first, how are we going to pass the current rules to the delete? That's the point. So the error is just saying that it is a duplicate rule, right? It's a duplicate rule. It's a duplicate rule. Let's see. Just 1 second. Again, it's saying that if you have given me something of a rule, you're not supposed to give that rule back, but that's not fair, right? So or what we can do, we can use if, or if we have no data to delete. Let's start from very scratch. All right, so let's say I give it a value of, let's say Spider-Man, or maybe let's not do Spider-Man. Okay, let's say Spider-Man. Save. So I believe this would be working completely fine, because if I npm start, you do not have any duplicates, so it sees and it only gives you the data for Spider-Man, and you could see that it's created one. But if I add anything which is already inside the deleted part, that is going to be a problem. So what I can do here is I can actually change this value out here. Returning the response.body. And if I actually set the rules, I'm saying const data, I'm going to add each and every data, right? So where a token application JSON, all right. Const data, we're passing this data out here. We have rule URL. This is the headers, content type, application JSON, authorization, bearer token, seems everything seems to be okay. Delete. Let's stream these first, and then we'll see if we could go around and modify that. So stream the tweets. This is the important part, and this is what the session is all about. So we're gonna go around and now stream the tweets. So if you wanna go around and stream the tweets, I'm just gonna copy this out, the whole thing up, or rather, let's go around and copy this up. So I'm just gonna call this, and then what am I going to do? Just gonna paste this, and I'm just gonna say stream. I'm just gonna call this stream tweets. All right. And once I stream tweets, what I actually need to do, I do not need this data because this data is already passed. And I'm just going to say const string is equals to await needle to this get request to the rules you are get request to, or rather, let's get rid of all of this stuff. Let's go around and create it from the scratch. Let's say I'm just going to say const stream is equals to needle dot get. We actually do not need to make it asynchronous, and I'm just going to go to stream URL, and then I'm going to pass the headers, right? So I'm just going to say headers, and in the headers, what I'm going to pass is going to be the authorization. So authorization, and in the authorization, I just need to pass it as bearer and whatever the value of your token is going to be. So this token, right? Now in this case, I'll have to use a function which is called as stream on. No, so we do not need that, right? We do not need it in JSON typically. So I'm just going to say stream.on, and we are just going to say the data, whatever the data that will be coming back. And then we are just gonna call the function for that data. I'm just gonna explain you, don't worry about that. And then I'm gonna put it in the try and catch block. And whatever data that would be coming out here, we are just gonna say const response. And we are just going to put this as json.parse, because we have to keep it in, because the data would be coming in string format because it's a tweet. So we'll have to parse this out data. That is why I didn't mention the application type. And I'm just going to say console.log, and I'm just going to put the response out here. Right. And in the error, actually, I'm not going to write anything in the error because nothing to write, because I want to keep the connection open, because I need the connection to be open. So if I do process.exit, it's not going to work. So if I save this and actually go around and change the rule, any specific rule that you're interested in? Any specific rule that you're interested in? Any specific rule? Let's say MacBook. Let's say MacBook. So this is going to be interesting. And then at the end, when the if is going to end, I'm just going to come out here when everything is said, the rules is said, the rules is deleted and stuff. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to stream tweets. Save. And now this would be the most interesting part. So I'm just like clear this out and I'll just say npm start. Let's see what happens. Ooh, it's only getting the data back. So it's not running the stream tweets. Why is it not running the stream tweets? Oh, it's an asynchronous function. Why did I create an asynchronous function? So let it be just function, right? Save. Now again, it's going to be reused one, but let's go around and do that. So clear and start. Now you'll see all the streams of the tweet coming back down. Oh, again, it's going to say duplicate. I'm just going to have a debug on this. I'll just sit around and so let's say esports, save. Again, let's clear and let's run. So you'll see all the tweets related to esports. Array? Why is it not giving me the value? Summary created. Stream tweets. I'm just going to go around and stream these tweets. So stream tweets. So I said stream tweets. I think something is missing out, but I don't know what's missing out. You're calling the function an asynchronous. No, we are just calling this as a function, as a function itself. One stream, headers, authorization, where a token, stream.on, data, the data I just asked, try, get the response, json.parse, data, console.log the response. Not doing anything. So, right. No, don't need that. I believe. Oh, wait. If I check this and refresh, the app was created to use this information because it was authorized to an app. 3 auth, fine. No, it compiles successfully, but it's keys and tokens, projects, API key, revoke, regenerate. It's actually regenerate the key because I'm like, revoke. If you revoke your, you might need to update your code in the app to work properly. Want to revoke? Just a second, huh? Something is not right. I don't know what, but something is not right. Code 0.2. Let's see. There a token. Call. I believe this is my bearer token. View API reference. Get rules, values, esports. Or rather, what we can do, if we have this value, we can give the value as esport. So this should have worked. I don't know why this is not working. It's showing me that it's a valid one. It got created and the value is esport. I believe the reason this is not working. So what if we put stream rules in the try block? Stream rules in the try block. We can try that. Let's say if we put this in here and save, and let's say education, let's try to do that. So if we clear, let's try this. We should be able to see the tweets maybe. It says duplicate rule. It's not saved. Oh, sorry. No, it's still not giving me. I don't know why this is not giving me something. Why is this function not running? Stream tweets. So this is just a normal function that I've written out there, right? Needle.get stream URL. We are passing the headers properly. Headers, authorization, stream.on data, whatever data that we are passing. Try, get the response, and in the catch, we're not doing anything. In the async function, down with this, I'm just going to create current rules. And I'm just going to try to get all the rules with the current rule. Oh, okay. Oh, I got this. So rather than await get rules, we are console logging the current rules as well, right? And then we are saying, oh, okay. So let's comment this out. And then we are going to say that I'm going to await for delete rules. What? Wait. We are going to stream now. So we're going to say await delete rules. And this delete rules is going to take the current rules and it's going to set these rules, right? I'm going to catch anything if we have bad, right? So the problem here is going to be with either setting the rules, setting the stream rules. So if I check the setting the stream rules, I have a set rules function wherein the const data is going to have the add rules. and const response is going to be await needle post request to rule URL, the data that we are passing, and the headers. And in the headers, I'm saying content type. It's going to be application/JSON. And authorization is going to be bearer. And then we're going to the console now response.body, and we return response body. Seems fine. And then in the delete, we're going to say it's an async function. Delete rules. If it's not array, if it's not array.isArray rules, this is going to return null. And if the const IDs equals to root start data.map, every function does have it. So I say const data. So I match the IDs. I put it in IDs. Saying the data, delete those IDs. And then I'm passing this data out here as a post request. Const response is equals to await needle is a post to this rule URL, and this data in the headers is equals to, seems fine, response.body, and return this response. And then what we're going to do, we're going to stream the tweets. Stream tweets. Stream does. If why not give delete request in a separate function rather than in the post request? See, what we're doing is we're deleting the data, right? So delete, we are mentioning the delete, right? So we're deleting the function and then we are posting this data. So data is getting deleted. See, data, we are deleting it by using this key as delete, because that's how this API works. And then once we have this data, we're going to post this data back in here, right? So because what did you say? You said the stream tweets, how is it going to know that what is the keys that we are, see, we are setting the rules, right? We are setting the rules. That's why we're calling this asynchronously now. So one after the other, once the rules is going to be set, it's going to get the data back, right? Because we are making, see, try and understand. We, in case of stream tweets, what we are doing in the case of stream tweets, we are making the request to stream URL. But in the case when we are making use of this function, where is that function? We are making a use to rule URL. So rule URL is this, and stream URL is this. Let me just go around and check me with streams case. So I'm just gonna say HTTPS api.twitter.com/2/tweets/search/stream, wherein, oh, it should be tweet, not tweets. Tweet.field is equals to public matrix and expansion. Let's see. Let's see. Let me actually go around and try this out. And paste this and save. And if I have this value as, let's say computers, save, and now I should get the tweets back. I just hope this does. Why is it not running the stream tweets function? So I got the value for computers. The data was this, but once it's got deleted, the data only contains computers. Makes sense. Giveaway Apple Xbox IPL. I guess parameter to stream tweets function. So I think the URL may problem hai. Do you think so? Maybe a situation. So https api.twitter.com/2/tweets/search/stream tweet dot fields is equals to public underscore matrix and expansions is equals to author underscore ID. Let's see. Programming. I'm just going to try it out for the last time. This is really pissing me off now. Let's see. Yeah, so you get the tweets. I think the URL was wrong. So you could see for programming, you could see out here, you're getting the live tweets. Now, these are all the people who are tweeting about programming, right? So you could see, so if I just stop this for a little second, see, but goddamn, you got me in love with this link. Okay, makes sense. You could see a lot of people tweeting about programming. The SOL. You can see it's really good month. Trading giveaway. Where the art activist groups love to retweet various about. Oh, I think we have done something. Yeah, it does. See, the link part is really, the changes were in the linking part. So that's the case. I think, you know what? We can actually, let's do one thing. Let's go around and put it on GitHub for a little second. And then I'm going to make few changes with the same. All right. So let me do that. Do you want the code of the same? Do you want to have a look on the code? Do you want the code? If you want, I can push it on GitHub if you want. Yeah. All right. Let's do that. So if I just do, if I say, yeah, you'll get the videos, don't worry. Why am I writing npm? Oh God, I'm just gonna say git status, or rather git init, git status. So I'm just gonna say, I'll give it to you. I'm just going to say, let me go around and upload this up real quick, and I'm just going to say git and to git commit. And what do I want to commit is stream tweets. Now we're gonna do that. We're going to put that in DOM in tomorrow's session. So that is something that we're going to do. And then let me go around and create the repo for you people. You'll get the videos. Stay in touch with me in LinkedIn, and most probably I'll get the video. So I'm just gonna share you out with. Let's go to GitHub. Okay, so I'll just do that. Don't worry. I'll give you both the links. And let's call this Twitter stream API. Just gonna create this repo. I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna add this out. Git remote set URL origin to this, not git. And then I'm going to push this file up. I believe it's done. Yeah, it's done. All right, so this is the link of the code for you guys. And if you want to go around and add me up on LinkedIn, that's something that you can do. So if you'd be having any doubts related to the stream APIs, or maybe you're looking for the recordings and stuff, you can do that. All right, so here's the link. So here's where you can find me up. So you can ping me up and I'll assist you up on the same. All right, so let's keep it here. Now, whatever tweets that we are getting out here, you could see that whatever tweets that we are getting from the rules that we have set, we're going to display this up tomorrow in the front end, right? So we are going to use SocketIO and we are going to put this in the front end part. All right, so that's what we're going to do tomorrow. Make sense? All right. So this is the case and this is the code. So are we good? We are all on the same page? Yeah. One doubt, please do ask. Please ask, please. Bolo. If we have a premium account, we can't be connected. No. Acha, you're talking about the Twitter API part? Ha, I know, Manthan, I know. I'll have to just look around with the same, and most probably I'm just gonna no, for LinkedIn account we can't be connected. Oh no. See, I'll tell you what. I no, you can actually go around and add me up. I guess so. Are you not getting the option to add or to connect or something? You're not? You have premium? Yeah, I do use premium. The stream URL. So I'll share you up with the documentation as well. So if you'll be having doubts, if you'll be needing the specific documentations, I'm going to share you up with the same. Oh, okay. I believe a few of the people would be knowing me out here.